Welcome to In Depth for a look at what is making mining headlines in the Americas. Canada is well known as a potash producer, being the biggest source globally of the crop nutrient with a market share of about 33%. The little known but widely used mineral made international headlines last year when BHP Billiton made a $40,000 billion hostile bid for Potash Corp, the world's biggest producer. Now the fertilizer ingredient is cropping up with potential multi-billion-dollar investments in Saskatchewan from the two old rivals, BHP Billiton and Rio Tinto, in the works. Mine Week's deputy editor for North America, Matthew Hill, joins me to give us some insight about these deals. Matthew, BHP Billiton has made clear its potash ambitions over the past couple of years, but Rio Tinto not so much. Why are they now showing interest?
Yeah, BHP Billiton's the biggest mining company in the world, and they're not exactly known for doing things in half measures. And they pretty much got straight to the point with potash when they made the $40 billion plus bid for Potash Corp last year. Now that got scuttled by the Canadian federal government when they said that they wouldn't allow it because they didn't see it providing net benefit to Canada. But in the meanwhile, BHP Billiton's hurtling on with its development plans for the Jansen project, which could produce as much as 8 million tons a year of potash, which makes it one of the biggest mines in Saskatchewan. And they also have a couple of other projects which they believe could potentially bring the Saskatchewan potash production up to as much as 16 million tons, which would put them on par with the biggest producers. They are hoping to get board approval for Jansen sometime next year, and to be producing that 2015, and possibly a couple of years later for the other two most advanced projects in Saskatchewan. Now Rio Tinto fell a bit behind when they were forced to flog off quite a few of their assets in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, when they were caught with massive debt from their LPAN acquisition also in Canada. So they sold their South American potash interests as well as Canadian exploration properties to Vale of Brazil for $850 million. And then now this week, a company which is a Canadian subsidiary of Russia's Akron Group, the subsidiary is called North Atlantic Potash, they announced that they've struck a joint venture agreement with Rio Tinto here in Canada to explore for potash and possibly develop mines, with the initial starting off with Rio Tinto at 40% of 40% interest in the projects, but with the opportunity to lift this as high as 80%. So they have fallen a bit behind their fierce competitors BHP Billiton and even Vale, which has got potash assets elsewhere in the Americas. But I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot more from Rio Tinto about their Canadian potash ambitions over the next few years.
These two companies are not the only ones hoping to build massive new mines in Saskatchewan. Are they all going to be able to sell their future production?
Looking at the demand projections some of the existing producers have made, there should be ample space for a couple or maybe more new supplies coming into production a few years down the line. The thing about potash is it's used as a crop nutrient, to improve crops, fruit, etc., and then B, also to boost farmers' yields per acre. And as urbanization continues in countries like China and India, and people want to eat better food, and generally when you live in the city you eat more food than if you live in rural areas, well then demand for potash is going to keep on rising. Potash Corp of Saskatchewan has got its own pretty ambitious plans to boost production, which they are well underway in carrying out. But almost certainly there's room for new producers to come online. I think the key here is for these companies to hurry into production so that they can capture some of the market share before a potential glut of potash supply comes on stream 5 or 6 years down the line. So that's pretty much what everyone's trying to do.
Finding people to build and operate these huge mines is already proving problematic. What are these miners doing to address this situation?
Yeah, that's a good point. And of course, you mustn't forget that in Saskatchewan, you've also got the uranium industry where Cameco and others are spending quite a hefty amount of money also to boost their production. And Saskatchewan is right next door to Alberta, where you got the booming oil sands, which is also siphoning up skills from all over the world, never mind just Canada. So these companies certainly do have problems trying to find enough skilled people to build that and operate the mines that they plan on bringing on. Potash Corp's put quite a bit of time and money into developing skills for this. BHP Billiton, even though they're only going to be producing perhaps in 2015, they're already looking at working with Aboriginal and other communities to do skill development and training. And then also they, with the University of Saskatchewan, are considering building a mining center of excellence, which will also develop skills for their potash projects.
One last question. Who is going to win the race to become Canada's next potash producer?
That's an interesting question. In its media release announcing the deal with Rio Tinto, North Atlantic Potash said that they believed that they could bring on Saskatchewan's first new potash mine. But given that they are already quite a bit behind BHP Billiton, chances are they're not going to win the race. You do have a couple of other companies, including Germany's K&S, which bought into a potash project, which they're pretty far down the line in the study side. But then there's also another junior called Carnelite Resources, which is listed here on the TSX, and they plan on building a smaller solution potash mine, which takes up a far less capital than a conventional mine, and also can be brought into production a hell of a lot quicker. So they say that they're looking at producing from the end of 2013, probably more likely somewhere in 2014. But a lot of analysts think that they are the likely front runners to bring in new Canadian potash production. You've also got companies that plan on building new mines in the States, also in South America, and then seen a flurry of juniors going into Ethiopia, of all places, looking to develop near-surface potash mines there. That should also be pretty interesting, but chances are they're not going to be in production before a couple of these new Canadian pretenders.
Thanks, Matthew, for your time. That's the show for today. Join us again next week for more news and insight on mining in the Americas. I'm Martin Joaquinho for Creamer Media in Johannesburg.